And I'm Renee Kimball, and you're here in the public art space at the Portland building. Doing what? What's this project all about?
I'm participating in the Regional Arts and Culture Council Public Art Program, and this space is a temporary installation program. Each month an artist rotates through. My actual project it has numerous levels and numerous interpretations, but it's really a metaphor to address the issue of how people seek security, whether the security is in a job or in a vocation or some such thing. Very simply, what I wanted to do was come to work each day and sit and crochet for 8 hours and then leave.
Okay, that sounds like fun.
Right, and it was done through, I had an experience in the corporate world where I had a corporate life, and although I knew how to do my job, the office just always felt better if the office assistant was there, because this woman could do things that I couldn't do. She knew where the toner was for the photocopy machine, she knew how to meter stamps and weigh them and get them out. And I just thought, she's actually an incredibly valuable person just by being here. The first person we would all ask is, oh, do you know where this is?
Right.
So she just developed this depth within her role that actually made the office function better. Right. So I thought through this project I would try and recreate that feeling, that emotion in this building, and also address some other issues with job security.
Right.
And such.
So what exactly is the overall purpose of what you're doing here? What do you expect to be the outcome of doing this project?
The outcome is, it's varied and it keeps growing, and it's changed each week over the 4-week time span. I knew I would have a product. I knew I would have a rug. The rug is the metaphor for a security blanket that you get with a job. So I knew I would always have that. What has been incredibly positive and overwhelming in its response is the way people have responded to this, and through this interaction have created a community around this installation. For example, I have a gentleman that brings me, hot coffee in the morning and in the afternoon. Another gentleman came by and brought me vegetables from his garden.
That's really
the boyfriend of one of the girls that's involved in this, he bought me some flowers this morning.
Has there been any negative response to what you're doing here?
Oh yeah, absolutely. When I first started, people thought I was just finishing a piece of art to hang on the wall, because I just came with my chair and my spool and my crochet hook, and I just sat in the middle. So for the first couple of days, everybody just thought, oh yeah, she's just finishing it, then she'll hang it up, and life will go on. And I didn't, I just kept coming, and I kept growing more squares. So then people started commenting in the book, when I wasn't here, in the comment book, that how wasteful I am using new plastic, what a waste of time this project is, how meaningless this is. And it was interesting from the perspective that none of them ever bothered to inquire with me what was really going on. So what they did was they stood from a distance and judged, and they judged this to be brand new plastic, which they found to be unacceptable, and they commented accordingly. And the reality is the plastic is reclaimed. It was on its way to the landfill, and I liberated it from its destination. So I thought I was actually doing something of within the ecological spirit, but I was actually judged very harshly here. So that's on the product. On the actual metaphor and the concept, there are two camps. There are those that interact and understand and are actually growing with the project, but there are also some people that have been very vocal in getting their opinions to me, that they find that what I'm doing is offensive and it's insulting to them. And from what I can assume or interpret from their comments is they think I'm making fun of them and their job by sitting here crocheting.
Right. Okay, I can understand that. Now, one of the things that I was curious about, because I just found out about this artist space, is Who provides this artist space? How did this artist space come about? Do you have any idea?
I don't know the actual fine detail of it, but I know the program's been in existence for 12 years.
Right.
And artists have been here doing this temporary installation program
Right.
for at least 10 years.
And do you have any idea how it's funded, where the money comes from for this?
I think the Regional Arts and Culture Council is the major sponsor for it, and I'm assuming there's some relationship with the city and through this building.
Okay.
This used to have another life. This used to be a store or a little kiosk.
Okay. Now, from the newspaper article that I read about you, you seem to be a rather well-known artist, and I'm just wondering how on earth we can afford you here in Portland in this little community space. Can I be so rude as to ask you what you're making here?
You get paid a stipend to do this, and the stipend is $750.
$750, okay. And what else do you do then? Obviously, you don't live
I'm
on...
not that well known.
Well, you don't live on $750 a month.
No, I actually live from my artwork, and I also don't make artwork that is commercial. I don't have gallery representation, and I don't really make work to sell, not in another form. You often meet artists that will say, you know, I've made an object from a craft tradition, like a glass vase or some object, and they will actually sell it. My work's not that, it's not suitable. I don't think it works well that way. The other work I do is sculpture, and it's not the kind of work you would actually put in your living room. It's not an easy fit into some environments.
So do you have another source of income then?
No, it comes from my art life, but because I am a full-time artist, I spend a lot of time searching and receiving grant awards, funding. My projects will be sponsored either with in-kind contributions or some kind of donation.
And who are your sponsors? I mean, who are the people who sponsor you?
The next big project I've got coming up will actually be back in Portland. I come back to Portland in September of 2006. Part of the sponsorship for that includes web advertising for the event through one of the websites associated with one of the materials. I work in clay.
Oh, okay.
So the gentleman that runs, one of the major websites in the clay world is going to sponsor a banner advert for me. So that's a form of sponsorship.
Right.
I've just enjoyed some equipment that was given to me on loan from a fibre optics company.
Right.
Because the work involves glass and fibre optics.
Right. So you do get some commercial sponsorship.
Yeah.
And do you get grants from the government or other?
Hopefully. Fingers crossed. You never quite know.
Right. Now, considering this is Portland, I'm going to address the issue right up front because you said nobody does. I'm going to address it right up front. It's reclaimed plastic, but it is new plastic. Why did you choose to use that as opposed to like recycled plastic bags? I mean, there's tons of those.
Right, and I know, and actually I want to do a project with the classic recycled material, and I've already sent email to the Bureau of Sustainable Development, who've also come to look at the project. I didn't have time to organise that before this time slot became available.
Right.
It's not an ethic decision at all. It was more about timing. The opportunity for this material to be part of it worked better than actually trying to set up a program.
Okay, fair enough. That's fair enough.
Yeah.
Okay, the next question is, what will happen to this after this is over?
It has a whole other life. It's already taking over. What I've got here is just the basic format of the rug. It's 6 by 10 squares, so it will end up being about 30 feet by 45 feet in dimension. And I've just started making the border, so I'm actually going to put a proper border and a fringe on it. So for finishing the project, I have a month. I'll put on the border and the fringe. But also, what will change is the relationship to it. At the moment it's in the installation and it's part of everything that's going on here, but on Sunday it then becomes an object and I become an artist in my studio again and I will relate to it in a very different way. so I can do things to it that are outside the parameters of this project.
Right.
The result of that work will go into City Hall here in Portland on the 1st of December for First Thursday through the office of Commissioner Sam Adams.
Right, so this will be in their
space.
in their space.
Yeah.
Then what will happen to it afterward?
It's still sorting itself out. Through this project, I've been running a blog, and I'm receiving wonderful emails from people all over the world that have been following the project. So I don't quite know exactly what's going to happen next, and it's the way I like it.
Okay, that's fair enough. Now, we looked at the promotion that you got for this particular installation. It was quite big. It was a lot of promotion as far as the amount of area. Were you happy with that, or did you feel that that was? Well, did you feel that was justified for the level of this artwork, as opposed to something that was like of a national concern or that would interest more people?
I didn't even look at it in that context. I was so thrilled that people were interested. So I didn't have any expectation or predetermined plan. Quite the contrary. I actually thought I would come and sit here and crochet, and nobody would interact. I thought I'd actually get a lot more work done. So to have the coverage, it's been wonderful. And what's better than the coverage is the fact that there's been some very interesting dialogue with everybody that's become involved, whether they're just visiting to sit on the chair, or someone such as Joseph from the Tribune that just wrote an amazing article. It was a chance for me to get to know him and what he's doing, as opposed to being a subject of something that he's doing for his job.
Right. Now, Zan, I'm going to do the hard stuff now. I am who I say I am, and I am from Portland Community Media. The thing that I didn't tell you is that one of my things is I'm not really impressed with art that is sponsored by public funds. I much prefer art that is done with commercial funding, because to me, the purpose of public funds are not to be funneled in this direction, and that if art speaks to the soul of humanity, then people should fund it individually, rather than taking money from people who may or may not agree with your art, because like you said, there are a lot of people whose tax dollars paid for this who really don't agree with what you're doing. So therefore, for me, it's very important that people understand the difference between public money and money that is used to promote what your idea is. I think you have a perfect right to say what you're saying, to do the art that you're doing, to participate however you think is valuable to society, and to say the things that you're saying. I have no issues with that whatsoever. The only issue I have is with the fact that you're using public funds.
Okay. Can I reply?
Yeah, sure.
I'm a new artist, and I'm so grateful for the opportunity to have this space to do this in this environment. I have nothing but just wonderful things to say about RACC that actually sponsored this, because without their help, I wouldn't have got to this level. And it's not a commercial interest, it's actually from the integrity of my art. To be put in this environment with this opportunity, this artwork tests my integrity. This opportunity tests.
But that's not my issue. The issue is that I know where the money comes from for funding this, and the money comes from the city. The RACC administers the funds, but the funds are actually tax dollars.
So what is wrong with having art in a building like this?
It's not art in the building. It's art funded by the public dollar. That's my exception to it.
Okay, so what would you prefer for me to do?
I would prefer that you do exactly what you said before that you were going to do, and get commercial sponsorship, like with the clay, like with the other commercial sponsorships. These are people who have something to benefit directly, and they can support your art directly by giving you funds from their website, funds from their own pocket. They're making their own decision about their own money, whereas the public dollar, somebody took my money and gave it to you and didn't ask me. And that's the part that really is annoying to me, as a taxpayer, because whether I agree with your art or not is irrelevant, but I shouldn't have to pay for it if I don't. Whereas a commercial entity, they agree with your art, they're willing to fund it. They're willing to spend the money to make you an artist.
So what's your solution?
My solution is for artists not to rely on the public dollar, not to take public money, not to take government grants, but to go to the commercial entities. And if the commercial entity can find a way that this is helping them, fine, then you get all the sponsorship you want. There's a gentleman in Australia named Ken Doan. He's a commercial artist, right? He gets his money from people who pay him for his art.
So are you for real?
Yes, I'm very for real. I'm one of the people that has to pay for this. Of the taxpayer's dollar, especially considering the kids were out of school last year for 15 days. Which to you is more important, this project or the kids being in school for 15 days?
I don't look at it like that. I don't. First of all, I was invited, which probably supports your point of view more than what I'm trying to say. I don't look at it like that. I look at it as apples and oranges. You've got education issues, you've got art issues. I'm participating in a program that was decided by committee, by members of this building as well as the institution that sponsors this space. I'm not involved on the political side of it.
But you are, because you're taking the tax dollars, and that's the issue that I have with it.
Would you like me to give them back?
To be honest, yes.
Yeah.
Because if your art speaks to the soul of humanity, then humanity as individuals should sponsor it and not the taxpayer. You shouldn't be taking money from the taxpayer to do your art when the taxpayer has nothing, has no say in the matter. I didn't have any say in the tax dollars that were used by the city to pay for this installation.
Right. Well, I'm sorry that what I'm doing is upsetting to you, and what I'd like to do is, like, can we stop this now?
That's fine. I'm happy with that.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. It was not a sandbag. I'm very honest about what I'm doing.
It was a complete sandbag.
No, I'm sorry. And we will not edit it to make you look anything other than you are. I can promise you that. I can promise you that on my word. I will not do that. It will be run just like it is.
You're going to insist on sandbagging artists.
It is not sandbagging. It's stating my position as to what I think the tax dollars should be used for.
Good.
And I asked you what you did, and I asked you your interpretation. I did not make interpretations about it. So I think in all honesty, this is not a sandbag. This is my ability as a person who pays taxes to address you as an artist and say, I'm not happy with what you're doing.
Good. I
Is that
accept
fair? Thank you.
No, and I'd actually like you to leave the space.
All righty, thank you.
anything which is intimidating, which is going to poison the campus environment, can't be allowed.
Like joining a church. You have to be a believer. You have to have the right set of views.
We must preserve heterogeneity. Heterogeneity we like.
Rather than saying we're suppressing speech, let's say what we're doing is ending harassment. The problem then becomes, what is the definition of harassment?
If you're offended by it, that's implicitly considered harassment.
Who cares if you're offended? Why is that against the law now to offend someone?
This is hardly a marketplace of ideas. This is a monopoly.
They're quite ruthless about their desire for a kinder and gentler world.
We're working on a documentary film.
Call the campus police. You need to leave or you're going to go to jail.
Well, how can I get an appointment if no one will return my requests?
You're welcome to call me.
Instead of calling you, can I just talk with you now?
No, I'm busy.
If a professor is comparing one of the students who took his class to Hitler and to suicide bombers, a student, by the way, from the Middle East, then I think that's a story.
They're afraid to give their viewpoint in class because they know it won't be tolerated.
If you're open-minded, you have to be this. If you're a good-hearted person, you have to be this.
They really believe that this is the only view any reasonable person could possibly hold.
I've been learning in geography class that gender is socially constructed.
I never knew that carbon chains had anything to do with politics, but they do. I don't know.
Why won't you say what's wrong? Why won't anyone believe your story? Why won't you say what's wrong? Why won't anyone believe your story? Why won't you wait? Don't wanna wait. Why won't you listen? Go ahead and speak. Why won't you wait? Don't wanna wait. Why won't you let go? Ready?
I'm politically liberal. Your average sort of mainstream Democrat doesn't necessarily believe this is really happening. I didn't really understand it was really happening.
Why won't you wait? Don't wanna wait. Why won't you let go? Ready?
The big buzzword on college campuses is diversity, diversity, diversity. We talk about diversity of skin color. We talk about having different ethnicities come to campus. The university is totally ignoring diversity of thought.
It began as a local program in our nation's capital. In the fall of 1997, a man with a quarter-century commitment to helping children in need, Wall Street entrepreneur Ted Forstmann and John Walton, announced they would provide scholarships so 1,000 Washington school children could attend school of their choice. When over 8,000 applications rushed in for the 1,000 available scholarships, Ted Forstmann saw America's need for educational choice.
Poor kids have a very rough deal with respect to education because the system really isn't working.
We simply as a country cannot afford to split our country into haves and have-nots.
The Children's Scholarship Fund was created
to help low-income families send their children to private or parochial schools.
The new program is being funded by a lot of private money.
An experimental program to challenge public education.
It's the latest example of a commitment to those who need help most.
The goal should be to educate the public.
It really is extraordinary that you and Mr. Walton would take $100 million of your own money.
Seemed a little weird, you know, this old white fella's coming around talking about he want to give some money to some inner city children. What's this man thinking about?
You weren't a deprived Negro child, we know.
What do you get back from it?
As you save a life, you save the world.
It's much more than an investment in money. It is an investment in taking a risk and a chance on competition and education.
An investment in a child has a guaranteed return.
There has to be an alternative if you don't have money. Sure, if you got money, you can buy yourself out, you can go to private school, but we have to do something for all of those that don't have the money.
I see this as giving poor people an opportunity to participate where they historically have been excluded.
Order, decency, hard work, fairness, all the things that would make public education work.
The Children's Scholarship Fund is giving children a chance and giving families a choice.
It gives them the choice that so many Americans have.
I think that these scholarships are going to be of great assistance to a lot of people.
I'm interested in getting to a position quickly where every single child in this country has an equal opportunity at a decent education.
When I grow up, I want to be a doctor.
And my heart is filled with pain.
I want to be a teacher.
The smile I had up on my face is gone.
A lawyer.
Can't see the sunshine from the rain.
Scientist.
When I think of you.
Children should not have to go to school in fear. Will my book bag be taken?
Then the world's all right with me.
I didn't like it. The choice was picked by the system.
No, it's just one thought of you.
She was floundering, and she was losing.
And I know it's gonna be.
We sacrificed a little bit and we just transferred them to private school.
Lovely day, lovely day, lovely day, lovely day.
The scholarship was the very best choice I have ever made.
They're pushed, they're motivated by their teachers, by their peers.
When it comes to the education of our children, we have to be the best consumer.
Children deserve the best. They deserve the best. Not mediocre. They deserve the best.
Lovely day, lovely day, lovely day, lovely day, lovely day.
Too many people in America fear their government, and the government is being run by too many powerful agencies like the IRS and others. I think it's time the people take the country back through their representative government.
Hey, Mr. Politician, living on that hill, living in that life of luxury, on we the people's bill. Don't have a clue how the other half lives, and that is a shame. It's time to stop the tyranny. You keep pushing through your bills, calling for a revolution, calling for it now. It's time to save